Hey, great to have your company and welcome to Eastern Creek International Raceway in Sydney as our AMSCAR Series coverage for 1997 continues. On today's program, you'll see races 2 and 3, and I'm joined trackside by one of the top drivers, Kevin Waldock. Beautiful weather conditions, outstanding racing in the first event. I'm sure that will continue.
It's going fantastic. It's a great day for you, and it should be good racing for everybody, I think.
Everybody's talking about the controlled tyre nature of this event, where you're all running the same Goodyear tyres, and things have been very close so far.
Excellently close. Pretty well across the field. We've got about a second, so it's really good.
You can expect more door-handle racing as we present races 2 and 3 in this first round of the AMSCAR Series. Let's now check out the starting grid for race 2. And they grid up in this race based on their finishing order of race 2, and by virtue of Alan McCarthy's great win, he starts on pole. Going through the field, Neil Shembry starts out of 6, Bill Attard, Gary Wilmington, Gary Cannon and Jeff Kendrick, also from Western Australia. Now Brian Walden out of 11, position 12 is Tim Slako in the Commodore, Richard Mork and Don Pulver. And now we walk down the grid, and that is Michael Donoher in the Ultra Tune entry, who finished 3rd in the opening event. Mal Rose on screen, who looked to have 2nd place safely in his keeping before an unfortunate spin. I'm joined in commentary by former Bathurst and Australian National Touring Car Champion Colin Bond. All the indications are the series is off to a flying start.
It's looking good, David, and the cars look great, I must admit.
And this first event, an 8-lap journey. Great to have your company wherever you might be watching. Keep your eyes on the West Aussie, McCarthy, in the former Glen Seaton Falcon on the right-hand side of screen. Revs start to build and wear away. Mel Rose on the second row got a great start. That's him in the centre. But it was the West Aussie driver, Alan McCarthy, that showed them a clean pair of heels when they said go. That's Donoher slipping up on the inside of Mel Rose as we take race cam. But the West Australian, McCarthy, is going to lead them down into turn 2. Donoher is 2nd, Mal Rose is 3rd, and Bob Pearson is 4th.
And I just noticed too that Slako got a very good start. He's up on the, come right through the field. We've got Pearson in 4th. Now Pearson in the first race actually came 2nd, pressured the leader all the way. I would expect big things from Bob, actually.
Alan McCarthy out in front as we take race cam again with Mal Rose. You can see Donoher there in the Ultra Tune entry getting offline. Talking about offline, there's Bob Pearson. Some unexpected motocrossing, Colin.
It was, actually. I don't know. I mean, Bob is a very talented driver, of course, and has got a very good motor car. You'd hate to be back there now, I think, after losing so much time, after doing so much work in the first race and coming a great 2nd.
A tough battle here between 2nd and 3rd. McCarthy, the race leader, has booted away. Now we're on board with Waldock, who moves up on the inside of Slako in that bright pink car, and the rest of the field trailing through. They now approach the double apex, which represents turns 11 and 12 at Eastern Creek Raceway in Sydney. That's the leader, McCarthy, who hadn't driven at this circuit before this weekend, and he's been particularly quick.
Look, the car, I think, is fantastic. It's doing everything right. It's putting its power down. It's not slipping and sliding too much. I've been noticing a lot of the cars actually do slide an awful lot around the corners. It's a combination of a few things, actually, Dave. I think the tyres we've talked about before, they're quite a hard compound tyre, but they're very consistent. They overlap the same times virtually all day. They use the one set of tyres for the 3 races, and you know, that's the way they've got to drive them. A little bit oversteer, get the power in early, and let it slide out, coming out of the corners with a bit of power oversteer.
McCarthy again opening up a very sizable lead in this 8-lap event. Mal Rose 2nd, Donoher now on screen in the Ultra Tune Commodore. A very safe percentages style driver. And a nice close-up shot of Alan McCarthy at work in the West Coast Racing Falcon, formerly owned by Glen Seaton. And it goes like it too.
Actually, with one of the main mechanics that work on the cars, one of my old mechanics actually, from Western Australia, that's Simon Negus, and I was talking to him yesterday, and they were saying that it was nice they could come out here, make a few small modifications to the car, go back out, and the car actually responded to the mods they've been doing to it. And I think that's now settling down to why the car's out in front. They've just been working at it gradually all weekend, and the car's just getting stronger and going better.
Bob Pearson in the Pro Duck Commodore, another error. Well, Bob, you've got to calm it down. He's trying a little hard. We saw him have that off earlier, and he's rejoined the race and is obviously trying to get back on equal terms with them. There's the top three for you: McCarthy, Melrose and Donoher. It's Falcon, Commodore, Commodore.
I just say I think Bob's probably just trying a little bit too hard now. He obviously got a reasonable start, but was back in fourth, and then finally, by having the two losers, has certainly dropped down the field now.
Melrose in second. You're watching him, and he'll be desperate to try and get on equal terms with the race leader, Alan McCarthy. They were the major protagonists in race one before Melrose had an off. But McCarthy comfortably in control of proceedings currently. That's Kevin Waldock on screen. He tries to move up on the inside of Slaco. We'll take a break from Eastern Creek. Whatever you do, stay with us.
The Kangaroo.
Thanks for joining us and welcome back to Sydney's Eastern Creek International Raceway as the 97 AMSCAR Series coverage continues. One of the hard luck stories this weekend has been Western Australia's Tim Slaco. We caught up with him a short time ago.
We had a fuel siege developed halfway through the race, and around certain right-hand corners we were getting no drive whatsoever, lost all fuel pressure, so it got worse and worse as we got closer to the end, and I couldn't just make it to the last lap.
Yes, Tim Slaco seems to have the gremlins worked out of the car now. And that's Michael Donoher as we resume with the action, running third in this one behind Alan McCarthy and also Melrose. There's McCarthy, and Colony seems to be trying very hard. The car's moving around a bit.
Well, they've all been trying very hard, actually, Dave. But I was just saying before that, you know, it looks great, the cars. You know, they're sliding. They're a little bit loose at the back suspension in the back end, but that's the way the drivers like to drive them, and it's obviously the fast way to drive them as well.
Man in the Gregory's entry, car 26, is Peter Dullman. He's starting to move up a lot closer now, and he's a former Australian 2-litre touring car champion, equally at home in the big 5-litre V8s. Back to McCarthy, the race leader, who continues really to defy logic this weekend, not having driven at the circuit before. He's really wheel perfect out there, apart from the odd slide, of course.
I was just looking at Waldock. You know, I think Kevin's had a few understeer problems this weekend, which they've been trying to dial out of the car. He's going much better in this race. He's really starting to give Slaco a hard time, and it'll be interesting to see who wins, I think, out of these two, because they've been at it hammer and tong for the whole race so far.
Gary Wilmington, one of the veterans of motor racing in this country, in the Falcon, and that's Peter Dullman now right behind him in Dullman's car, beautifully turned out machine, the VP Commodore, as they head back down the 1 kilometre long main straight at Eastern Creek. And the first two drivers have really put a gap in the rest of the field here.
Well, they have. I'm just looking. Dullman started from the back of the grid, obviously, because he didn't start in the first race. They had a problem with the clutch. He's now clawing his way up through the field. He just got past Wilmington, and, you know, will be coming in, I would imagine, on the other two cars ahead of him.
Of course, this series represents the rebirth of the popular AMSCAR series, conducted by the Australian Racing Drivers Club at Amaroo Park for a decade. And it's good to see it back on the national motor racing calendar again. McCarthy continues to lead. It's got to be said he's under no major pressure at the moment. Melrose is in second, but struggling to get on equal terms. That's a great battle between Kevin Waldock in the CBS Mining Falcon and the Commodore of Slaco.
Yeah, actually, Slaco, Western Australian drive, and he's been in motorsport for a long time, very good mechanic. Has always been to Bathurst on numerous occasions, you know, with the contingency that used to come across from Perth. And it's great to see him back over here this weekend.
A brake lock up there as he went through turn 9, a tricky part of the circuit, corner slightly off camber. Accelerating hard up to turns 10, and then the double apex, turns 11 and 12. And this is a really good battle you're watching between Slaco, Waldock, and also Peter Dullman now joining in as we go on board with Waldock.
There's not too much in it between the two cars. You can just sort of see now how the Holden gets away down the straight, but it's just a matter of, I think, getting on the power a little bit earlier. as the speed builds up too, the cars look to be further away. But now going to this other shot, Kevin stayed with him all the way. There's not much in it. This is the fastest corner on the track. The drivers really like getting through there. It's a great corner.
If you may have just joined us, it's appropriate we remind you that the AMSCAR series is boasting a tyre rule that's fairly unique. All drivers on the same Goodyear spec rubber. A cost-effective formula for these drivers. And as that shot graphically illustrates, McCarthy is giving these Goodyears a good old working out column.
Well, he is, but I must admit, this particular car has been pretty straight all weekend. You know, remember in the other race, there was the other two Holdens behind him were quite sliding, you know, from the oversteer out all the time out of the corners. But I think the McCarthy's car looks really good.
The West Coast Racing Falcon, now on screen, leads this event, heading back towards the main straight. Melrose still second. Donaher in the Ultra-Tune Commodore is third. And Slaker, the battle for fourth, fifth and sixth on in earnest as the Gregory's entry of Dolman goes through. Nothing between this trio, fighting for every inch of bitumen. And back onto the main chute they run. That's Donaher way up the end of the main straight. You saw at the top of that shot. And now Dulman out of the slipstream. He and Waldock running side by side across the line. And Dulman's going to have a good line through there. Exhilarating left-hand sweeper at the end of this straight. One of the really good points about Eastern Creek.
Well, there aren't too many places where you can pass on the circuit, but obviously down the straight and into this fast left-hander is the ideal place to overtake cars.
A lot of drivers look for the opportunity into turn two as well, the hairpin, as they tend to button off the speed. Often they'll run wide, and plenty of drivers utilise the slingshot up on the inside. That battle continues. Peter Dulman's moved up one more spot. Stay with us. This is a ripper at Eastern Creek as we take a break. As we welcome you back to Eastern Creek International Raceway in Sydney, we're 1.5 laps from home in race 2 of the first round for 97 of the AMSCAR series. And the battle still continues. Oh, Peter Dulman has had an off, under brakes heading down towards the right-hander at turn 9. A cloud of dust. I was about to say the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th still continues. One of them, and one of the top runners, has now fallen out.
Yeah, I don't know what actually happened there, because the road goes right and Peter's actually gone left. He must have just come down looking for an inside pass, I think, on the car in front, realised there wasn't enough room and just sort of gone left and just kept on going left.
The top three for you on screen. Alan McCarthy in the Falcon. Mal Rose runs second. That's now him on screen. Michael Donaher is third. Rose in the Fairfax Community Newspapers Commodore. And they're now on their last racing lap of this 3.93 kilometre venue. Slako is now followed by Waldock. They're running 4th and 5th on the circuit. And it has been a terrific battle.
Well, it has. They've been at it all the way through this particular race, actually. I must admit that, you know, Kevin's been in front of Slako. Slako sort of got back, and then Dulman obviously coming through. And they've now lost Dulman. And just see whether Kevin can actually make a bit of a last lap dash here, I guess, somewhere on Slako. But the winner's McCarthy. He's out on his own now and doing it very nicely.
And Bill Attard in the Xerox Shop Commodore VP currently runs 5th on the circuit. That's the race leader, though, McCarthy. In the former Glen Seaton Falcon, beautifully turned out car, the West Coast Racing entry. And he's going to make it 2 starts for 2 wins here today at Eastern Creek International Raceway. On the other side of this race, on today's program, you'll see a 5-lap sprint, which represents race 3 in round 1 of the AMSCAR series. He's just got a couple of corners to run, Colin.
He has. I noticed that Mal was going to get second, which I think is good for Mal. I mean, Mal was really pressuring in the first race, had to lose and drop back. Pearson hasn't really appeared, although I know he must be there and gaining on them, but he's had 2 loses in this race, which has dropped him right back. I would have thought it would have been fought out, actually, between McCarthy and Pearson and probably Mal Rose, but you know, Pearson's gone. There's a checkered flag, and obviously McCarthy the winner. So
the West Australian doing it again. Mal Rose second, Michael Donaher third. Good performance. Slako will finish 4th in a fiercely contested battle with Kevin Waldock. Here's Joanne Gardner in the pits with the race winner.
We're very happy. One more to go. But as I said to you earlier, I think everyone's got the same tyre problem, so it's just a matter of keeping it straight, keeping it on the track, and like I say, we're hoping, we're keeping our fingers crossed.
Alan McCarthy, a good bloke who's done exceptionally well this weekend so far, and he's on track for maximum points in the opening round of the AMSCAR series. The grid for race 3, a 5-lap journey. McCarthy, Melrose beside him on the front row of the grid, and the remainder of this 15-car field. They start on the grid based on their finishing positions of the race prior. That's Michael Donoghue, who Colin Bond has been very steady today so far.
He has. Well, he's been on the podium, I think, just about every time, and he's been the most consistent, I think, other than our winner, of course, who's won every race so far.
So a good-looking field. We line up for a 5-lap sprint. It will be helter-skelter. The green light goes on, and away they go. That shot graphically shows the attitude of the cars. They're snaking all over the circuit. What a start by Kevin Waldock in the yellow Falcon, blasting from the 3rd row of the grid up into 2nd. But what about this man? The West Australian McCarthy's done it again and bounces away.
I didn't think he was there for a minute. It looked like a bog down at the start, but once he got the thing going, he just bolted from them.
Kevin Waldock, an outstanding start. Now, I saw Melrose offline. Is he? What? He's off the circuit at the moment. Oh, and there's Peter Dulman facing the wrong way. That's scary stuff. Dulman will try and reverse out of harm's way. And that was an interesting first couple of corners.
Well, it was, actually. I don't know what actually happened. Obviously, Mal went wide. Didn't see what happened to Dulman, but Dulman just must have spun and was stayed in the middle of the track, which is quite clever because everybody else was able to go either side of him.
Now, Melrose back in the thick of it, rejoining the race a fair way back. Gary Wilmington behind him. And they sort themselves out with Alan McCarthy finding himself in very familiar territory. Leading the race, Slako switching lines on the inside of Bob Pearson. And that's the West Australian Jeff Kendrick up on the inside of Melrose as we go on board with the Sydney driver. And I just saw a rear fender. There it is on the track now of Jeff Kendrick, the West Aussie driver. Well, it's separated from his car column.
Well, it did. It just looked like Mal must have come down the inside of him coming through the right-hander. Here we go again. Just gave it a bit of a touch. It's just lodged it, and now it's actually breaking loose from the car. They're actually made of plastic, so not that bad. But it did hit Mal's car on the way through, of course.
What a great start by Kendrick to work his way up from a fairway back on the grid. That's Kevin Waldock, runs 2nd. He has a problem now with the barnstorming Bob Pearson up on the inside. Nice manoeuvre. Has he kept it straight? No, he hasn't. Went in too hot, Bob Pearson. And the Product car finds itself on the grass yet again.
Well, Bob actually just tried to go down the inside, I think, do a late break, and it hasn't come off, as you can see, and it's put himself back out of the race again. He's going to have to fight his way back again, and there's only, what, about 4 laps left in this particular race now.
And Slako and Waldock, their battle continues here. McCarthy, Slako, Waldock, that's the top 3 for you as Waldock tries to get up on the inside. Great race here in event number 3. Stay with us as we take a break. And welcome back to our coverage of the 1997 AMSCAR Series. Sydney's Eastern Creek International Raceway is the venue. And a couple of laps from home now in race 3 of round 1. Slako, Donoghue, Waldock runs next. And that's the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Now there's been a mistake made by a driver that ran wide on that corner, which allowed Bob Pearson to get up on the inside. But they've all got a lot of work to do if they hope to chase down the race leader, Alan McCarthy and the Falcon, the West Coast Racing Falcon. There's Waldock now on the right-hand side of your screen, racing into the pits, which is bad luck for him, Colin Bond.
Well, it is. Kevin been going very, very well the whole time, and I don't know why he's come into the pits, but I must admit that our leader this time has actually just run away from the rest of the field. I guess it's been a bit of a combination. The car's been going extremely well, of course, but also the people behind him have been making mistakes. You know, you saw Mal go off and that, and Pearson, and they're the ones which have been applying the pressure, and actually now he hasn't got any pressure applied to him in this race. And I just noticed that Bob is starting to creep back up through the field, actually.
It has been an outstanding performance by that man, the West Australian driver, McCarthy. Slako on screen runs 2nd, and he thoroughly deserves a podium finish after being consistent all weekend. Had some fuel starvation problems early in the first event. We heard from him a little while ago explaining the fact that he's now on top of those problems, and that is clearly the case as he runs strongly in the runners-up spot at this stage of proceedings. That's Gary Wilmington in the Green Falcon, and that's McCarthy, the race leader. Now Slako runs wide. Donoher has a chance to get on equal terms. It is a tricky corner, that, Colin. Turn 9.
Well, it is. It's a nice corner. It's a downhill corner, but it's a 180-degree bend. You just got to get the brakes on right and get in and get the apex and get out again. As you see there, he just missed the apex completely and left it wide. The car could have easily gone down the inside of him. And matter of fact, I wouldn't mind betting yes, Donoher now has just done that, and Donoher's now taken over second place.
And Donoher has been extremely consistent. Slako having some problems on the twisty parts of this circuit. As you just saw, he was really snaking all over the place, allowing Donoher to get up on the inside of him. And that is the man that runs in second spot, the ultra-tuned Commodore of Donoher, the VP Commodore. And there's McCarthy at the top of your screen, the race leader. Drifting back through the field, Wilmington involved in a good battle.
There's Product, the Bob Pearson car, just in front of that. I noticed too that Shembry's gone very well this particular race. He's actually up in third spot now, and it's great. I can see that he's been getting better as the races have been going on, and it's starting now to apply a bit of pressure to Donoher, actually.
It has been a good drive by Shembry, who makes plenty of progress. Bob Pearson is not done with yet, though. Now, Bob's had an off in this race, so he's done a magnificent job to get himself back into a position where he threatens for a podium finish. He loves it up the inside here. At the approach to turn number 2, he thought the better of it on that occasion after messing up there earlier today.
Well, I think caution this time. You can't keep out braking everybody all the time. The car is a very good motor car, and I guess it is one of the places where you can overtake. There's not too many places on this particular track. It's got a lot of long corners, constant radius corners, which makes it very difficult. As you can see now, Bob's really trying to slide up the inside of Shembry. Shembry puts the power down and just pulls away. They're going up the hill.
Both drivers mounted in the VS Commodore pack. Alan McCarthy about a half a lap away from home. A superb performance. This will do his confidence the world of good, and his team would be feeling very comfortable about the way they prepared this car. He arrived at the circuit late. The team arrived before him. He'd not driven here before, has jumped into the cockpit of this car, and has frankly driven away with the opening round of the AMSCAR series for 97. Look at the gap he's got on his nearest rival. They're still not in camera view. And now McCarthy across the line takes the checkered flag and wins 3 from 3 in this opening round. Michael Donoher second, Neil Shembry third, and our lady in the pits, Joanne Gardner's with the top 3 place getters.
Alan McCarthy, congratulations, 3 out of 3.
Yeah, we're really pleased. Yeah, it's what we come here to do, and it's gone better than what we thought. So yeah, we're ecstatic.
It was just an absolutely fantastic day, and I know I've said it before, but it was just a fairy tale debut for the car. And I've really got to thank Easy Fix Automotive, Andy, who looks after the car, Ultratune for supporting me, and I just hope that this is a forerunner to a very successful series for us and for everyone. I just think it's a great series, and it gives us a chance to show our potential in not such a big dollar field, I suppose, and I'm just wrapped. I think it's great. I mean, of course I would, I suppose.
And let's recap the point score at the completion of this first round. McCarthy on 54, Donoher 36, then Bob Pearson, Melrose and Neil Shembry. Don't forget the next round of the AMSCAR series at Amaroo Park Raceway on the 20th of July in conjunction with the Super Tourers.